So it's Friday afternoon, and we're about ready to head out of the house, head camping in the Tesla for the first time. First tow with the Tesla. Just a short trip from home. It's only about 30 miles from here. About half of that will take us just to get to the interstate, and then about the rest on the interstate. So it should be a nice test run, kind of get some consumption numbers before we head out even further. So we're all loaded up and we're gonna hit the road. Okay, so we're gonna head to Fort Boonesboro. Perfect, we even went to the campground. So yep, we're looking at about 40 minutes estimated. It'll take longer than that because of traffic getting out of town. Only 31 miles, and it predicts we'll get there with 80%, and we are currently at 94. It doesn't know that we are, well, I guess it does know that we are hitched up. The trailer mode is turned on. But we're going to hit the road. I'm going to reset the trip counter so we get an accurate representation, some accurate data, and we are going to hit the road. Okay, trips. We are going to reset trip A. Okay, we're at 0 into drive, and we are going to hit the road. And this is why it's going to take us a while to get out of town. So some early numbers since we're sitting in traffic here. There's construction, got everything all messed up on this side of town. So we've gone 4 miles so far, and we're looking at 443 watt hours per mile, which is good. Pretty good, but that's pretty slow too. We're going to start moving again here. So we pulled up a little bit. So yeah, we're looking at currently here over the 5 miles, which we've all actually only driven 4. Showing 387 here, but 427 actually on the trip. You can see the things there, or the peaks there, where we were on a 50 mile an hour road, and then we had to stop and kind of go a little bit. So it's projecting right now 302 miles based on the range, but based on the usage, it's showing only 188 right now. So and we're pretty high. 92%. I had it at 95 before we left, and then it's sat for a little while, and then we've used a little bit. But I'll leave that up there just so we can kind of keep an eye on it and see how it compares. Like I said, we're only going like 30 miles, so it's not a big deal at all. But we'll see how it goes. It is kind of funny. I'm on the April FSD beta free trial that everybody's getting here in the month of April. So it keeps freaking out. Even though it's in trailer tow mode, it still keeps freaking out and thinking there's somebody riding my butt the entire time. Which is kind of funny.
In 500 feet, turn left onto Newtown Pike.
But we're getting close. A couple more cycles of the light here, and we should get out onto the road and then onto the highway soon.
I'm gonna go all the way to level 40 and unlock.
Oh, made it to the campground. All set up. It's a giant mud pit, so it took us a little while. Oh, I'll have to show some pictures later. It's a disaster. My only hope is that it can dry out a bit tomorrow. We've gotten about 3 inches of rain in the past few days, so everything's just wet. Oh, but we'll see how it works. So it worked out pretty good. So trip A was what I reset, and it's down to only 376 watt hours per mile. Now a lot of that was coming in. You can see there the 30 mile average, so in 363, and a projected range still of 170 miles at 78%. So we left it a little under 95 and got here at 78, so it didn't take anything to get down here. I'll do some math here in a little bit and see what the kind of the theoretical range would be, but heck, it's 78%. That's probably close to 200 miles theoretical from 0 to 100. So yeah, it did great. The car drove great. You can plenty of power. That's definitely no issue at all. You can feel it bouncing around a little bit compared to the minivan or Sienna that we normally tow with, but that's probably just more from the short wheelbase and the stiff suspension here in the Tesla. But everything went well. Knowing that now, yeah, most of our campgrounds are like less than 100 miles away from our house, so I don't think we'll have any issues at all getting to any of those at all. Got my mobile connector already plugged in, and it's plugged into the car. I went ahead and stopped the charge just so we could still see the state of charge, and then I'll go ahead and turn it on. Although I'm at 78%, so I'll probably set the limit at 80, so it won't even actually charge at all. But I'll go ahead and have it plugged in just so it's ready to go. So here we can kind of look at some of our numbers. Trip A was today. I could have renamed that. Total 31 miles at 376 watt hours per mile. And that was a mix. I could do the math when I look at the map. It's probably about almost half of that was at pretty slow between roads in and out of town, and then traffic also going slow on the interstate even, and then I don't know, whatever the remainder is. I forget what I said, if it was half or whatever. The rest was at 65, which is my preferred towing speed anyway, even when we're towing with the ICE minivan. That's my preferred speed. Everything is good to go a little bit faster, but it's always safer to go slower and to get better efficiency going slower, so it's win-win. So this is a 2023 wide long range factory tow package, so it had all the wiring and everything, and I did add a Dutchmen Primus IQ brake controller using the factory pigtail. I actually had them hold that out for me so I could pick it up when I bought the car. I already had the pigtail already. This is the same brake controller we have in our van, and it works great in the van, so I figured I'd go ahead and just stick with the same thing. So far, everything seems to be working with the 16-volt lithium-ion battery versus the 12-volt. That's one reason why I went with the Dutchmen. I saw that the Can-Am dealership up in Canada, that they said they go with the Prodigy P2, and that's just overkill for what I need for our little pop-up. So I went with the same brand, but just the Primus. Similar thing, same inertia-based controller, just fewer bells and whistles. This one doesn't store the different trailers or have debugging and default codes and stuff like that. But otherwise, yeah, it went great, and kids are already out playing at the playground, and it's time to crack open a drink and try not to get everything too muddy. Now here we can kind of take a look at my charging setup. I got the Gen 3 mobile connector all plugged in. That's plugged into the 50 amp hookup here at the campground, which is same as the NEMA 1450. So 220 amp or 240 amp at 50 amps, or 240 volts at 50 amps. And you can see here we are charging at the mobile connector's maximum 32 amps. The car's currently at 54%. We drove around quite a bit today and then came back and purposely did not charge just so we can kind of see how it goes. And as you can see there, we're looking at about 5.5 hours to go from roughly 50% up to 100%. So for a full battery, we're looking at, or from 0 to 100, we're looking at about 11 hours total. That's perfectly acceptable. No issues there at all. Rolling in the evening, and it's charged up by morning. Nothing that we would ever need to worry about. Now, the only thing is, you do have the possibility or potential to possibly overload these circuits, trying to run 30 amps off that 50 amp. They say some of these pedestals are only fed with the 50 amps total, and that's split up, and that 30 amp outlet that the camper's currently plugged into runs off one of those same legs. So if I wanted to, I can dial this back to 20 amps. So that way, even if I'm drawing full 30 from the camper plus the 20, we're only at 50 on that one leg. And once we do that, it's looking like we got about 8.5 hours to get up to about 50% of charge, so about 17 hours. and that's longer, but it's still definitely doable. If we roll into the campground, plug in around 5 o'clock, it still would be fully charged at 10 a.m. and that's assuming all the way rolling in dead all the way to full. But realistically, the way that we camp most of the time, we come in on Friday evening, would plug in the camper overnight, or plug in the car overnight, and then we might drive around a little bit on Saturday, but most of the time we're just sitting around. The car would be charging there, and we'd have a whole second night on Saturday night, and plenty of time for it to get topped off by Sunday morning. So I don't think this will be any issue at all, even if I wanted to be conservative and dial it back. And so now, just to show another option, just because I have it, I also have a NEMA TT30 adapter, which is the 30 amp 120 volt plug that campers use, and that's what my camper is normally plugged into. But I have that, and on that plug you only get a maximum of 24 amps, but that's only at 120 volts, so it's half as much as before. So we're looking at here 14 and a half hours now from it's actually gone up a little bit to like 56% now, up to 100. So for a full charge there, we're looking at closer to 30 hours. That's going to be a lot tougher to do. Over that 2-day weekend, we could probably still do it just fine. But I'll definitely be more conservative about that, and definitely keep that in mind. A lot of our state park campgrounds do only have 30 amps, so I'll have to be mindful of that and pay attention. Try to get the 50 amps when possible. I could probably still do the 30 amps, especially over the 2 nights, but definitely a lot longer. So I'm going to swap this back out to the 50 amp just to finish the car charging, so it's ready for us to go in the morning. And as far as the possibility of overload, that's actually really easy for me to keep an eye on. I have a Hughes Power Watchdog surge protector with Bluetooth installed on the camper. It's a hardwired one, so I can just pull up the app and see exactly how much amperage I am drawing at any time. You can see right now it's drawing nothing because it's a beautiful spring day, so there's no air conditioner, no heater or anything running, but I can actually keep an eye on that real time as I hear the air conditioner stuff cycle on and off, and keep an eye on that and just adjust my charging speed as needed. But Sunday morning, had a good weekend here. Somehow managed to stay, or not get everything completely muddy. Just a few bits, which is great with the frunk. I hosed off as much as I could, and then the wet stuff just went in the frunk, so it doesn't get everything else all dirty. But now it's time to get hitched up, and I've realized that is one downside to this. With all these cameras, I still can't see the ball in my hitch. So I guess I'm going to have to go old school here. It's been a long time since I've had to do that, because even in our minivan you can see the ball in the backup camera. But we'll get backed up here, get hitched up, and then we'll hit the road soon. Well, we're all hitched up and ready to go. Time to round up the kids at the playground, hit the restrooms, and then we'll hit the road. So I only was off by about an inch the first time, and then about a half inch the second time. Got it on third, so not terrible. I need to come up with something better. I don't really want to go to a longer shank, because then that just increases the load from the leverage, but maybe something magnetic on there or something so I can get it lined up. But yeah, we're about ready to hit the road, and I will be back with some efficiency. We'll test that again. Okay, loaded back up in the car. So you can see since charge is 0, and I did get it charged up to 90%. Since we're going so close to home, I didn't bother taking it all the way up to 100. You can see our trip A right now is at 304, but that included a trip back into town, back almost home practically, to the other side of town, and then back out here without the trailer. So that's skewed, so I'll go ahead and get that reset, and then it should be another 31 miles back to the house. So actually, and we made it home. So you can see since the charge, so it's 32 miles, 446 watt hours per mile this time. It was mostly uphill. You can see on the 30-mile tracker there, average of 392 watt hours this time. The current drive is messed up because I had to stop because I got the red trailer light, so I stopped just a couple miles into the drive to check it out, and I think my left tail light on the trailer, it's not working. I need to just see if it's the bulb or if there's something that's going on with the wiring or the connector or something. But there was only one left turn in the entire drive home, so it wasn't a big deal. The other brake light was working, and you should be able to see the top one. So, yep, that's what we're looking at there. 15, you can see still at the beginning here was the big ramp up getting onto the interstate. No, correction, that would be the giant hill coming up out of the campground. And then we slow down, and then that one there would be the speed up onto the interstate. And then it was just kind of rolling hills, mostly flat from there, and so that's what we're looking at. I'll do some math here after we get all unpacked and everything put away. So to kind of wrap things up here, looking at our drives on the way to the campground, we went 31 miles at about 376 watt hours per mile. It was an elevation change of negative 404 feet and went from 95% to 79% state of charge. Coming back, obviously same 31 miles. This time though, it was up to 446 watt hours per mile because we gained elevation back that 404 feet back uphill. Went from 89 to 70%. So that's where you can kind of see the difference there from 16 up to 19% difference in state of charge. So theoretically, if we did the math, even using that higher 446 watt hours per mile, based on the 78 watt hour or kilowatt hour battery in the Model Y, we have a range of about 175 miles. Theoretically, realistically, it's probably more like 150 is what I'd say with this exact setup here. And like I said, that's further than any of our campgrounds that we typically go to on most of our weekend trips. So it'll work out great, and we won't have any issues at all to go wherever we want to here. Next steps are I need to get a roof rack for it. And we'll throw the kids' bikes on the roof rack, and we'll see how that affects it. See how much more energy the aerodynamic drag from bikes up on the roof rack affect the car. But I think it'll still be usable, even if it knocked us down to 100. That's still realistic for most of our campgrounds around here. I think it still would be no issue. So that'll be our next steps. But overall, it was a great weekend and a great test, and looking forward to getting out with the camper and the Tesla again.